Hi folks, and welcome to ADD-ONS Armory. Today we're going to be taking a close-up look at the Ruger Precision Rimfire, and this is the model 8400. Now, this rifle's been on the market for a few years already, so it's probably nothing new to you guys, but we wanted to take a closer look and see if it lives up to all the hype. We'll pick apart some of the features, do some accuracy testing, we'll show you some chrono results, we'll discuss some of the pros and cons of the platform, and then we'll shoot it out to 200 yards to see how it does for practical use. Just so you know, we currently have no affiliation with the manufacturer or distributors of any of these products, so it's just our honest take on things. Please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out our carbon-killing, friction-fighting, citrus-powered synthetic CLP at ADD-ONS.com. Now, let's get to it. So there's a lot of features packed into this guy. First off, you've got a molded one-piece chassis and a quick adjustable buttstock for length of pull and comb height adjustments. And this is all glass-filled nylon composite. You also have a rear picatinny rail if you want to put a little monopod on there, and combined with the bipod up front kind of gives you like more of a tripod setup. That sort of reminds me of back in grad school. We had a guy that we nicknamed the Tripod. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail as to why we gave him that name, because this is a family-friendly channel after all. And contrary to popular belief, it wasn't me. Now, there is a QD pocket in the back. They also have dual bolt throw lengths. You can adjust it down to a 1.5 inch rimfire style, or you can adjust it out to a 3 inch short action centerfire rifle style by simply removing the little clip. This has an adjustable trigger pull range of 2¼ up to 5 pounds. And the trigger wrench is included and stored in a stock compartment. It also has an AR pattern pistol grip and safety selector, so you'll have nice and familiar controls. That safety selector is reversible, although the rifle is not really set up for left-handed shooters. And of course, that grip is compatible with standard AR grips. You also have an anodized aluminum Picatinny scope base, and that's got a 30 MOA forward cant. It also has an oversized tactical bolt handle with downward and rearward bend angles that give you really maximum leverage. This gives me the kind of common sense gun control I can really get behind. It's got a 15-inch free-floating M-Lok handguard that is hard-coat anodized aluminum. And it's got a cold hammer-forged 18-inch target bull barrel. And that barrel's threaded at 1/2 by 28 with a thread protector. And this particular model comes with a 15-round BX mag. Alright, so we're shooting the Know Your Limits match today, and this is 8 targets. Starting over here, we're at about 2 inches on that target, and then it progressively goes down to a 1/4 inch right here. I mean, that little thing is just tiny. You can see how little it is compared to my fingertip. Well, let's see how we do.
Stand by. But that's 17 minutes in the morning. Hit. 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 Hit.
So let me tell you a little bit about some of the add-ons that are on here that don't come with the original rifle. Up top, we've got a Vortex Diamondback Tactical 30mm scope, and this is a 4:16 by 44 with a first focal plane MRAD or mil reticle. And this is mounted using Weaver 30mm 6-hole tactical high rings. And the high size gives you just about perfect clearance on this rifle. There's also a BLUCOLLAR tactical 2-point rifle sling, and this is the Patriot model. I really love these slings. They're super quiet. They got double wall nylon. They're real comfortable, and I just love what BLUCOLLAR Tactical is doing. Up front we got an M-Lok QD sling mount. Then down below here we've got it's kind of a cheap knockoff of an Atlas bipod on an M-Lok Picatinny rail section. Now Atlas bipods are super nice, but they're crazy expensive. They're like $200. So, you know, this is probably not quite nearly as good, but it's about a quarter of the cost. Then down below we've got a Magpul MOE AR Grip. Ding. Well, you can barely hear that hitting out there. You can barely see it hitting too. Now let's talk about the pros and cons for a minute. Now on the pros side, this thing has just got solid ergonomics. I mean, the grip, the controls, the bolt handle, really everything is very comfortable to use. You also have tons of mounting options. I mean, there is a lot of real estate here, so you can keep it pretty clean like this, or you can go full-blown mall ninja depending on, you know, your tastes. But don't worry, we'll love you just the same either way. Next big pro is the 1022 mag compatibility. Most of us have 1022 mags laying around, and it's kind of nice to not have to buy any new or special mags for this thing. Also, it's got a really nice clean trigger. I actually like this trigger better than the Volquartsen trigger that's on my 1022, and that's a pretty darn fine trigger. Now the Ruger Precision has a really nice, intuitive, very easy to use bolt removal and takedown. If you end up getting one of these, just remember that those bedding screws need to be torqued to 35 inch-pounds for optimal accuracy. It also has a really nice detailed manual with full disassembly and reassembly instructions and pictures. Another big pro is the good sub-MOA accuracy. Even on a windy day, we still got some pretty nice 100-yard groups. It's got a nicely cut barrel crown with plenty of recess for protection. Also, the mags drop free. The only exception that I had was I had a single clear BX1 magazine that was a little bit out of spec. It was just kind of too wide, and that got stuck in the mag well. But out of the other almost dozen or so mags that I've tried, all of them dropped free. And all in all, I like the looks of the rifle. I mean, it's really kind of a sexy looking rifle. It's got this nice mix between kind of tactical looking, kind of bench rest precision looking. It's really, the design is quite nice. Now, the 30 MOA base is going to be kind of a little bit of a point of contention for a lot of folks. Some folks think that it's just sort of a waste on a 22. Other folks might think that, hey, you know, it's kind of nice. It gives me the ability to really reach out into that 400 and 500 yard range if that's how far you want to go. But really, bottom line, 30 MOA base gives you almost 9 mil of additional vertical compensation. Now with the 50 yard zero using 40 grain CCI mini mags, my drop compensation ended up being about 1.5 mil at 100 yards, about 6.25 mil at 200 yards, about 12 mil at 300 yards, and about 18.75 mil at 400 yards. So it might not really be necessary at any kind of practical range to have this 30 MOA cant on this base. At least not for the 22 long rifle variant. And last but not least, it's at a great price point. I mean, these are going right now for a little over $350 online. So, I mean, you're just getting quite a bit of rifle for that money. Alright, so here's our first group, and well, we've probably got maybe 1.5 inches between those extreme ones, but if we take out that one flyer, we're actually at under 1 inch right there. And then kind of same deal over here. I got one little flyer, and the rest of them are in about 1 inch size groups, so that's really pretty good considering the wind. Now let's talk about some of the cons for a minute. First and foremost, the bolt fit and finish was rough. And I mean really rough. It needed some serious work. And I did a little bit of work to it to kind of smooth it out. The action was just kind of hard to manipulate when I first got it. So I took a little bit of 400 grit sandpaper to it, being real careful to keep the edges nice and sharp. And I also took a buffer wheel to it to kind of clean it up. And then lastly, I cleaned and lubed it with our awesome citrus CLP. Everything got smoothed out really nice, and now it runs just perfect. Another thing I noticed is that it actually works better with BX1 mags than the stock 15 round or the larger 25 round BX mags. And this is actually kind of the case with almost any Ruger 22 rifle that I've shot. It just tends to run a little bit smoother with the BX1 10 round flush fit mags. Now another con that I kind of noticed with this is the temperature sensitivity. And I kind of would have figured with this thick bull barrel it would have been a little bit less sensitive, but I did notice that some of my first shots in any kind of string, especially on a really cold day, tended to be quite a bit off compared to once I got a few rounds through the barrel warmed up a little bit, and it just started stacking the rounds almost through the same hole. And last but not least, the size and the weight of this thing is pretty bulky for a 22 long rifle. It's got an 18-inch barrel, and the barrel length for me is just a little bit long. I would have liked to see maybe a 16-inch, and of course the weight is 6.8 pounds just raw. So, with all this other stuff on it, I mean, I'm pushing a 9-pound rifle now. So I think they could probably cut down the weight a little bit by dropping 1.5 inches or 2 off of the barrel length, and then dropping a couple of inches off of this handguard. Very consistent, at least when the wind cooperates. As I mentioned before, it was pretty blustery during the 100-yard tests, and the wind was just kind of all over the place. So the groups showed some horizontal spread, but they were still in MOA territory with the subsonic CCI standard velocity 40 grain round nose. Also, here are some 25-yard groups from when the wind was much more calm. You can see that they're less than 1/4 inch, which would give us sub-MOA accuracy when it's translated out to 100 yards. Overall, the accuracy of the rifle is very good, and at least on par with a nice custom 1022. Once again, the difference between a cold barrel and a warm barrel played a little bit of a factor in some of the group sizes, but once I got it warmed up, I mean, it was just stacking them real nice. So let's take a quick look at some of the chrono results. Now I won't make you sit through all the shooting, but I did run a couple of 5-shot strings to get an average. Now bear in mind that it was only 25 degrees Fahrenheit that day, and we're at about 5,800 feet in elevation. With the supersonic CCI Minimag 40 grain round nose, we pulled an average of 1,176 feet per second. And with the subsonic CCI standard velocity 40 grain lead round nose, we pulled an average of 1,034 feet per second. Now these numbers would probably be a little bit higher on a warmer day. The Ruger Precision Rimfire was just a real blast to shoot the gongs with, and it did pretty well on the Know Your Limits match. I was able to easily make consistent hits out to 200 yards, and I really look forward to testing my luck at 400 and 500 yards once I get this out to our other range. As a guy who's poured just gobs of money into custom 1022s over the years, it's nice to see something that can shoot great and has most of the features that I want right out of the box. So what do you guys think? We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences with the Ruger Precision Rimfire in the comments below. And with that, thanks for visiting today, and we'll see you again next time at Attica Armory.